Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario. As you can see, we've made a mess on the table here, and what do I have right here in front of me? Well, you might think it's some type of Genesis thing, and it is. This is a Sega Nomad right here, and what have I been doing to it? Well, now that I've actually got this done, I feel like I'm confident enough to show you all right here, so this is still obviously the work in progress, but first off, huge, I mean, seriously, huge shout out to No Bit Left Behind. I'm going to put their excellent text and picture-based tutorial for this down below in the description, and they even add some troubleshooting steps and all that for an issue I'm going to talk about. So this is a Sega Nomad right here, which is a portable Sega Genesis, and right here is the screen. As you can see, you might be able to see it from here, I'm playing Toe Jam and Earl on it right now, or at least just bench testing it. Now, I actually replaced the screen right here. This is the new screen. Reason being is that the old screen, I don't have it around here within the vicinity. The old screen on this sucked, okay? It was bad. Like, as in, this thing came out in the 90s, and the screen was never good. Nobody ever said the Nomad had a good screen. It always had a subpar to bad screen. But in 2015, it was horrible. So what happened was, as you all know, I picked this thing up for a little less than 50 bucks. I ended up looking into a LCD replacement, which I was confident I was never going to do one. But I decided to do it after looking and seeing how easy it was. Now, I thought it was going to be easy, and it is. It's still easy, but I ran into a few hurdles. Now, first off, right here, you can see this screen. Everything looks fine on here. It wasn't like that. Now, let me explain my troubleshooting steps, okay? Because this is just kind of an overview of my story of it and everything. I'm not showing a tutorial, because it wouldn't have been good if I did a tutorial, because I'd never done this before, and there's been other tutorials I've done a first time on while making the tutorial, but this was just something completely different. I didn't feel confident making a tutorial at all. So if I ever get another Nomad, I probably will make one, but even there was another tutorial I found online. I don't remember who made it. I'm going to link it down below in the description. It's not as resolution-wise, it's not as good, so like literal quality-wise, it's not very good, but it is very detailed and everything for a standard definition tutorial, so there was also a really good video-based one as well. But this is what happened, right? So I ordered this screen off of Deal Extreme for about 20 bucks, and what was happening was when I wired it in, because there's only 4 wires, you have to strip it, and there's 4 wires, so there's 2 wires for power, 2 wires for video. He soldered them to the board, and I thought it was my soldering, I thought it was my wires. I was confident I damaged the screen when I put everything back together the first time, so I was convinced it was either the wiring maybe or the screen. I thought it was more the screen was the issue, and the issue was after about a minute, the screen would just keep flickering, and then even if I turned the system back off and on, it would get to the point where it was black more than it showed color. So it was completely unusable. And the problem is with this mod, you have to completely cut out the old screen. Like, I don't know if you all can see it right here, right over there. You have to literally cut out the old screen. So once you begin this mod, there's no going back. You have to complete it, or else you have a dead system, or a system that is, you know, not working. It's really the thing. It's not completely dead, it's just it's not usable. That's the best way of saying it. So what happened was, my stupid ass decided to get another screen, because as I said, I was so confident. I damaged the first screen. I was so confident of it. So I said, you know what? Another 20 bucks, that's not that bad. I'm not going to put any more money into it, but whatever. You know, my logic was also, this system sells for minimum like $100, $120, and I bought the system with the screens for less than that, so it was fine. So I ended up getting this, and this is just a typical LCD generic screen that you can get from China. I got from the US supplier, even though I think it still took like 2 weeks or something. But what ended up happening was I just said, okay, you know what? I have everything wired in. I'll just plug this into the system and see what happens. And it worked for about a minute, and then I had the exact same issue. So I said, okay, you know what, it has to be the wiring. I went in, I desoldered the wires, cut them, recut them, like restripped them, soldered them back in, tried a few different areas, and it was still the same thing. Then I read about something else. Because they had said there was a flickering on that guide, there was a little area there for if your screen was flickering, which I'm going to show you all right here what I did. So this is how the front of the system, where the buttons are and everything normally go, right? And you got the LED right there for, if your battery is low. There are 2 points right here. Well, there's multiple points you can use, but you have to solder both video cables to 2 points on this side. And then normally what you could do for most of these mods is, as you can see, I still have a little bit of flux and all that right over there. If it ever focuses in, I'll just select it. There we go. So what happens is right here you could also solder where the power is, your power and ground cables. Now one issue that happens is, as I said, you might have the issue I had where your screen keeps flickering black. At first I misread it as LED screen, so I disregarded it, but it was actually LCD. And the reason why it does that is because, as they explained in the tutorial, there are some LCD screens that require a higher minimum voltage than what is given off of here. So what you have to do is you have to get your power from elsewhere by doing 2 different things. So what I did first off was I resoldered the wires right here. As you can see, there is a black wire and a red wire for power. That port, that is where the old screen, I believe, used to wire into, and there's a wire that connects from the old screen to that port that you no longer need once you use this mod. And you can reuse it for this, but I just decided to connect directly there. And second, as you can see, what I did right there, if you are looking for that little red wire, I had to bridge a resistor and a point on that leg of the chip right there. And I'm not 100% sure what that does. I think that is the step-down converter is what it is called. I'll have to double check on that. But essentially, you have to modify the board that comes with your LCD screen as well, too. And with that, if you do those 2, you should be able to get a better power signal, and then from there, your screen is not going to be constantly blinking or cutting out. So that is what I've done with this Nomad so far. At this point it is still taken apart, but it actually works. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to put it all back together and show you all the final product, and probably film a little bit in the process as well. Alright, so we're starting to put everything back together right here. And as you all could see, so I'll show you right here, what I did on the back for the board itself, I ended up just putting electrical tape right there to cover up the board. And then right here, it looks like a mess, and it is. This one reason why I don't like hot glue, actually. It makes everything look messy, but it keeps things in place, and it does a good job, and it's cheap. So that's why people use it. But what I did was I had to line up the screen. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. But it's for me, so it doesn't really matter too much. Even if I ever sell it or something, I'll even tell people it's not a perfect alignment, but it's pretty good. It'll get, the whole screen really. So I ended up, if this thing will move, I ended up gluing all 4 corners. As you can see, I dabbed a bunch of glue there. Then I moved this down a little bit, so gave it some room, and just taped it so it was in place when I put everything there. But yeah, no, the thing actually works right now. I've tested several times. The screen's not flickering. It's in as best alignment as I could get it, at least, and it seems to work. So what I'm going to do is I just need to go ahead and get my bag of screws and put everything back together. Alright, so as you all could see right here, we have the Nomad completely reassembled and everything. So the only thing is I did have to loosen the screws a little bit because of how the board and the screen are set up. A little bit thicker than they originally were, so this is the type of screen I used, as I showed right here. So now I have the spare one in case, I ever mess around with another Nomad. This is the original screen right here, which looks a lot thicker, but it all seems to, it conforms a lot more just because, well, it conforms much better just because, it was designed for the Nomad. And as you can see right here, now I can actually show you all, I had to slice that out, so it is actually cut. So as I said, there's probably a way you could do it without cutting it. It's not really, I don't know, it's not really worth it, honestly, if you're just trying to swap out the screen. And you don't really see many people swapping out this screen for another screen because this screen is just so bad. So, I mean, people even say just cut this out and throw it away. But as I said, once you cut this out, you're pretty much at the point of no return. But yeah, no, we have everything right here, so I'll go ahead and show you all how it works. Now, a few things are, as I said, one of them, the screws, I had to loosen up a tiny bit. As you can hear, the sound definitely works. The screws I had to loosen up a tiny bit, just because if I press down too much, then the screen would there'd be some pressure on it. Let me even see if I could replicate it. I really can't do it, actually, so I got it just about the right amount. However, if I press it with the right amount of pressure, then what ends up happening is the screen just, has those weird, like it looks odd and everything. So it looks like it's crooked. I promise it really isn't. It's just the way the system is set up, because the system itself, I mean, look, the system itself is set up to be all crooked. But no, I've tried playing a few games on here so far, and they all run fine. So it's definitely not perfect in any way, but it's definitely a lot better than what it was before. So if you do have a Nomad, I'd recommend, trying this out if you have some decent soldering skills and all. It's really not too hard to do. Just follow the instructions unless you want to, waste some money like I did. But, I have this just to play around with now, so... lesson learned with that. Either way, I now have a Nomad that's been upgraded. Another upgrade I tried to do, honestly, I'll just be straight up with you, tried to do the Sega Master System mod where I was able to unlock Master System capabilities. Cannot do that now because I actually burned off the leg that was required for that, so I can't solder that anymore. But since that leg is useless and I cleaned up all the solder, the system still works perfectly and it works as it did before. It's just now I can't ever, on this specific board, I can't ever unlock Master System mode, which is kind of disappointing, but whatever, it worked out. So one thing is with this modification, unless you do another mod that kind of brings back some functionality, the brightness right here is useless. So this is just about the same as a dummy switch right now. It doesn't do anything to the screen. The screen is just locked as is right now, so that is just the standard brightness it's going to be in. I promise it looks a lot better in person. It doesn't look very good on camera, honestly, but I don't have the original screen. I never record any footage of the original screen, but I'll try and, at least at one point here, throw in a picture of it just to compare. But it is a complete night and day difference. The colors look so much better. The image is cleaner. It's brighter. There's no downside to upgrading to this LCD screen. As I said, it looks much better and cleaner, and also you will increase your battery life, so there's all that stuff. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone, and yeah, that's about it for this thing. I think it looks pretty good.